All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning, everyone. What? I don't know what that is. I heard a second. And good morning, everyone. Oh, I'm hearing myself back. What? Oh.
All right, now, everybody.
And good morning, everyone. Oh, I'm hearing myself back.
Hold on, everybody. Let's figure out what's going on.
That was like a cacophony of sound.
Yes. Oh, that one.
Let's play everything at once kind of situation. That was like a cacophony of sound.
I did a whole feed cutoff.
Mark.
Never before.
Let's play everything at once kind of situation. That was like a cacophony of sound.
I did a whole.
We need to.
I'm not sure what to say.
Mark
other
is
than that,
feeding.
Girl, you just woo.
Let me call him. Oh God, what happened? Okay.
I mean, everything was going along. We were just fine.
I'll be right back. Kim, stall. I'll call Mark.
Fine. You can leave me here. Well, it is a Monday morning after all. And so this is what happens, you know? Mondays, sometimes they start a little bit, we're crazy, a little wacky. Yes, William Martinez cacophony is a ding word. I will take the ding. I'll always take the ding. William Martinez says it. Must be true. Good morning to everyone. We appreciate you being here. We had a bit of a
no applause necessary. I have figured it out, Tony. Okay. Tony, I figured it out. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, I was gonna tell you what's up. Okay, cool.
Let me figure. You know, I have to tell you.
What the hell happened?
In a way, it's good that it's happened because it's a lot harder than it looks. Let me just say that. There is the old days at KGO, all I worried about was content. I worried about finding things that I think would be good to talk about, that are topical, that are building franchises and, things that are fun, whatever. Now it's every manner of, you've got to build a graphic, you've got to write a description, you have to send out a, invite to the guest. Oh no, you double book that guest. Can you slide that guest to another time? I'd like to just do 5 minutes a week of bitching about doing the rest of the show. And yet, when it all comes together, it's great. But today, that is my bad on what we just heard.
My bad. I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you what, you can all go to hell. I'm going back to Texas.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Damn straight. Anyway, it's great to have you all with us. That was a mess.
You know how
but that was all that was a self-inflicted wound, if I can.
Yeah, that was bad.
Absolutely self-inflicted. You know what I mean?
On behalf of the Mark Thompson Show, I'd like to apologize to everybody's earlobes, earbuds.
That was pretty awful.
That's not fake. That's real.
It really was real.
Wow.
It was too real. I hated it.
You know how the drops become part of our everyday kind of speech sometimes?
Yes, I most certainly do.
So over the weekend, we had an Easter Bunny snafu.
Yeah.
Magic of the holidays uncovered by a 9-year-old. And all I could say to him, and I truly said it, was, my bad, I'm sorry.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, get over it, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim had a serious Easter spin out. Can you share it with everybody, or are you not really wanting to?
Hopefully there's no kids in the audience. If so, spoiler alert.
Yeah, this is an Easter Bunny related spoiler.
Yes.
So if there's somebody in your listening area that is Easter Bunny sensitive, then you have please fair warning.
Bunny, so we want to make sure that you know.
Right. So anyway, go ahead.
13 years. I stay up late and prepare all the eggs for hiding.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up early and hides them. This is how it works.
So your husband gets up early and hides them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
He is the bunny. Right.
Okay.
So this year, I do my thing. I prepare everything for distribution. I
Right.
hang the bag of said eggs on the front door,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm woken up by my 9-year-old son, who puts the bag of eggs on my lap and says, "What happened?" And he
Oh.
looks me in the eye and he says, "Tell me, it's a yes or no question. Is the Easter Bunny real?"
Wow. Because I was going to say there's still a lot of wiggle room there with just what happened. Maybe the bunny got scared, blah, blah, blah. And you've got all sorts of running room. But when he's asked you point blank like this,
He's asked
you
me point
either-
blank.
now, if you were Fox News, you double down on the lie.
So I say,
Right? You
that's
just
what my husband's
yeah.
first MO is like, oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I collected
Lem-
them all because
Right.
I didn't.
There's
want-
never
your
been
sister's
anything
too
like
old.
That's right. The Trump
sister's-
thing would be just to double down. Exactly.
Yeah, your sister's too old this year, and so I just collected them for you.
Yeah.
Dumbest
I-
answer in the history.
Well, it's
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
But he's
what
9.
happened? What
and
did
he
you
looked
tell
at
him?
me, and he looks in my eyes, and he asks for the truth. So I said,
What can you tell us about the scene?
Yeah.
"The magic of Easter is real."
Oh, that's strong.
And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Well,
What?
the magic of Easter is real."
Uh-huh.
Who is
So-
having that conversation?
Well, apparently they're having it right at that moment.
Maybe the bunny needs a little help, but
Oh,
we
strong.
bring the magic.
So
Those
you
who
didn't
believe in the
deny
magic
Oh, go
Can
ahead.
milk
I'm sorry.
this whole Easter egg searching thing for years to come.
Okay.
But if you don't believe in the magic, it's all over. Well, he says, "I believe in the magic, but I'm very upset that you've lied to me my whole life."
Oh.
And then, of course, then he realizes that
there, black and white, clear as crystal.
It was like
questions are called into play about Santa, the Tooth Fairy.
Oh,
and
he
on it
brought
goes.
in other. Oh, this is very disturbing.
So the magic of the holidays comes
So the-
crashing down like
the
all
walls come
holidays.
tumbling down.
I'm
Wow.
telling you, this is a big deal.
That is a
I
big
can
deal.
What he's not going believe here
is a situation.
Yeah, it is.
that you
This
have
is a situation, I think.
Lied to me my entire life.
Mm.
How could you lie to me my entire life? I said, well,
Wow.
listen, would you have rather Santa never came? Would you have rather the Easter Bunny never showed up?
And he said Santa didn't come and the Easter Bunny didn't show up.
He didn't
That's my
say
point,
that.
Mom.
He said,
I mean,
Good day, sir.
right,
No.
Good day, sir.
no, but I would rather have you not lie. And I said,
Oh, that's strong.
it was
I
the
like this
lie.
kid. This kid really brings it.
I'm telling you, it was
Yeah.
a rough Easter. It was a rough Easter.
Well, I'm sometimes these are the best ways to find he'll have a story all his life. He'll tell this story to a therapist many years from now.
And then my husband yells, "Yeah, and the earth is flat."
That's fine.
How are you?
Yeah.
Well, it's one of many, many lies that Daddy and I will be telling you for the
Yeah.
years to come. So I don't want you to think this is the only lie. We have a lot of lies. We're serving them up like short order chefs. And you're going to have to
That's
tell which
it.
ones are real and which ones aren't.
So
Wow.
now everybody knows here. Now we're all part of the same, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's a little sad, but he's 9, so it was kind of time. But on the other hand, sure wish he hadn't have found out like that.
Yeah. Pretty brutal, I have
Yeah.
to say. That was a
Easter eggs
Yeah,
hanging on the front door.
yeah,
It's
you
a
weren't
bad
expecting
scene.
it. That's
Yeah.
not cool. Yeah. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We're aware that there is a situation unfolding in part of America. This United States of guns has now seen yet another situation that Kim will update bottom of the hour in her newscast involving opening fire. I believe this is in Kentucky. But we'll get to that. I'm going to put it to the side for a moment. I do want to welcome Tony, who is super cool to be with us. He works.
Thanks, Tony.
He probably works, if it were possible, like the equivalent of 8 days a week. He's always working. He works at KFI Radio in Los Angeles. He blasts over to another show that's like this, that's got that he had to literally build the studio for. And so for him to be here is really cool. I mean,
Side gigs, side gigs, side gigs.
I know. I mean, that's it. It's a side hustle world. But I really appreciate you making us one of the side hustles because, You know.
Of course, man. No worries.
Yeah,
I don't know Tony.
We got
but
this far.
I
Was
assume
text
it's
Saturday?
great.
You're like, Albert's gone another week. Can you be here? I'm like,
I know.
Yes.
That is it. Albert gone for one more week. The commish did leave me information about Mark's Madness, and I do want to kind of wrap it up. This would officially be the wrap-up of Mark's Madness, and then I do want to get into the Supreme Court. I want to get into the lower court. I want to get into the Texas court. Sadly, we've become a nation that, well, frankly, life in America is going to be altered dramatically because of these court rulings. And they're being bumped up to the Supreme Court level. I'm talking about on women's reproductive rights primarily, but it affects other things as well, gerrymandering and a corporate control of business and of citizen rights, any number of things. We'll get to that in a second. I do want you to get to know this guy who has potentially changed life in America, this federal judge who's in Texas. And at 11 o'clock, I want you to know that Andrew Fraknoi is going to be here, the astronomer. And there is a total eclipse of the sun that's going to happen. And if you are if you're a veteran of seeing total eclipses of the sun or going to where there are total eclipses of the sun, you have to plan way in advance. And so we're going to give you a lot of leeway on this, a lot of ramp, a lot of runway is the word I was looking for. And Andrew will tell us about that. He'll also tell us about this new mission to the moon. We'll talk about the Mars rover, which has been pretty productive. And so all things related to the cosmos with Andrew Fraknoi, and then Mark's Murder Mystery Monday at the bottom of the hour. I was unnerved a little bit by the
I think Mark's Murder Music is what happened at the beginning of the show.
It was just brutal. I felt, I mean, even right now while I'm speaking, trying to think, is there a way I could restart, Tony, to make that cleaner? Or is that just going to be the mess that's going to be up there and for everyone to see?
The mess lives.
Do you want me to hit the beginning video again, and we'll just everyone the podcast version will have not any of this mess.
Everybody with the podcast version will be. What would that? And so, how do we feel about that?
I mean,
I feel actually kind of good about it.
No, it's too much trouble. Yeah, let's just live. Let's just live out loud. You know what I mean?
Let's accept our fate today.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will. We will not.
If I'm being honest, it was horrible.
I know it was, but we need to move on.
It's about as bad as it can possibly get.
I know. It is about as bad. So let's pull it together. I wanted to update Mark's Madness is where I was because there's a celebrity bracket that needs to be seen. We promised you an update, and when we make promises to you, I like to deliver. I'm thinking you have that, right, Tony? There's a celebrity bracket, and those of you who had wagers going or some kind of other interest in the celebrity bracket, there it is for all to see. From the bottom, Jim Avila, the 11-11. That is the number of points 11, the number of wins 11. Brett Burkhart, 15 points total, 10 wins, 21 losses. Spencer Christian, 16 points, 11 wins, and 20 losses. Mark Thompson, 20 points, 15 wins, and 16 losses. The commish at 21 points, 15 and 16. Michael Shore in third place at 22 points, 16 and 15. So that left the two top spots, and there they are, highlighted in yellow. Former fabulous producer John Daly, 27 points, and 18 and 13. That is 18 wins and 13 losses. And Michael Snyder at 27 points, 18 wins, and 13 losses. It's a tie for first place between Michael Snyder and John Daly. That's what do we have for them, Tony? Nothing is the truth of it. But I think Michael Snyder is going to be particularly devastated by this because I think he was feeling pretty good about life And now we see that he has to share the award stand with John Daly. So that's it for Mark's Madness. Thanks to everybody who played. I do want to mention that the winners receive, and I just got this arriving to the house, the Why Are You Yelling Red?
Oh, nice.
There it is.
My neighbor still says that's the best red wine he's ever had in his life.
And this is a Pinot Grigio. It's the white.
Ooh, Who's Mark Thompson Pinot. Yeah.
It's the Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson Pinot? That's don't confuse it with anything off market.
Nice.
That's from Tenuta Vineyard. We thank Tenuta Vineyard. And if you want one of those wines, you mention smash it with your iron rod. What do you mean you mention it?
When you're ordering.
You call them, or what do you do? It says here Tenuta Vineyard.
You can call them, or you can email them, or you can go to their website. Here's the
I see.
information. Wow. Get a hold of the winery. Mm-hmm. You can call the number on the screen there, or rich at tenutavineyard.com.
Okay.
Or you can go to the website, and you can order it. But when you order it, say smash it with your iron rod, and you get 10% off. TenutaWinery.com is the website.
Okay. Well, I hope that's been road tested and that works. But for 10% off, you can. That's how you make it happen. I love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Love my Tenuta Vineyard people, and they are on board, I think, with a little bit of a sponsorship of Kim's News, so that's really cool too. And
I'm so excited. Today's the first day.
And as I've said, they've got the Why Are You Yelling Red and the Which One of You is Mark Thompson?
Why are you yelling?
White. There is something happening in this country, as you're well aware, and it's happening as a result of activist radical judges. These judges come to awareness once they make some of these decisions as to law. But the reality is that they are percolating, they are bubbling beneath the surface in radical right-wing think tanks and organizations around the country. The classic example of this, and you may say, I get it, and we have people of all stripes, meaning people across the political spectrum watching the show. You may quibble with my use of the word radical right-wing, but I think if you're quoting a 19th century law to roll back women's reproductive freedoms, you're a radical right-wing judge, okay? And there's not just one of them. There are many populating the judicial system all the way up to the Supreme Court. And as you know, the last president was able to take that Federalist Society list and essentially work off it and get all of these judges appointed. So this latest decision, as you know, is a showstopper in terms of continuing to pull back the control that women have over their own reproductive systems. It happened after we got off the air on Friday. I wanted you to hear it from a woman. We have Kim on the show who can speak to it on some level as well. But I saw this summary of it, and I thought, boy, that's pretty solid. I'll run a little bit of that on Monday. So here we go. This is from Jen Psaki, the former spokesperson at the White House, who now has, I guess, a show on MS. And let's run a little bit, and you can, I think, in her summary, get a lot of what's going on, and then I'll tell you more about this guy. The judge, that is.
I try not to be alarmist on this show, but every now and then, there is good reason to be alarmed. On Friday night, there was a new assault on women's rights in this country because a federal judge in Amarillo, Texas, issued a ruling that may undo the FDA's 23-year approval of the drug mifepristone. Mifepristone is one of the 2 drugs commonly used in medical abortions, and the man responsible for that ruling is Matthew Kacsmaryk. And he has made no secret of his strong opposition to a woman's right to choose. In fact, back in college, he wrote this in a school newspaper: the Democratic Party's ability to condone the federally sanctioned eradication of innocent human life is indicative of the moral ambivalence undergirding this party. Yes, he was talking about moral ambivalence back in college. After working for a number of conservative causes, he even served as a trustee on the board of an anti-abortion organization. So it's pretty safe to say that restricting reproductive freedom, limiting abortion rights, it's all been the focus of his career to date.
That
now,
can
the
stop
thing is
there
that
for a
if his
second,
latest
Tony.
ruling
I just want to make it
stands,
clear. So when I talk about these are modern day jihadists, that's what I'm talking about. That they are homegrown, they are built here in America, in American educational institutions. It's the same kind of thing that they accuse the left of. And by the time this guy gets his diploma out of college, he is cause-oriented. He is completely fixed on overturning a woman's reproductive freedom in America. And that's exactly what he ultimately did. So I talk about it bubbling beneath the surface. This Matthew Kaczmarek is the judge. I talk about it because it is. It's bubbling beneath the surface, as I say, in these academic institutions, in these thought groups, and it becomes a cause. And this cause is now realizing a transformative moment in America. He was handpicked by anti-abortion advocates, this judge was. And he's the sole jurist who sits in the Amarillo Division of the Northern District of Texas to hear this challenge to the legality of abortion medication. And so he ruled exactly as everybody thought he would. And he quotes an 1873 anti-vice law. This anti-vice law was hatched. It's insanity, but I'll tell you. It was hatched in the shadow of the Civil War. Okay, that's how far this goes back. And the dude who hatched it, and they name it after him, this vice law, was appalled by the pornography and sexuality associated with many of the soldiers who fought in the Civil War in America. When he got into public office, he crafted this act, it's like a sin act, right? It's about, it really relates to pornography and things related to sex. And so this 1873 anti-vice law is what is quoted by Kaczmarek in invalidating the FDA's 23-year-old approval of this abortion drug, this mifepristone, right? So there's another parallel ruling, just to get back to the movie. The parallel ruling is saying, no, the drug is fine. And it actually says more than that. It says that it should be legal and available to women and available to consumers without a specialist involved. In other words, the idea is this will go up on appeal, the two parallel decisions, and ultimately the Supreme Court will decide. Well, the Supreme Court's posture toward all of this has now been well known. I don't know what will happen here. We'll talk to David K. Johnston. We'll talk to Katz. We'll get a sense tomorrow. Tomorrow, Johnston. Wednesday, Rothman. Thursday, Katz. But you'll see a lot as to handicapping the future. But I guess what I want to underscore more than even the viability of this law is the way these activist, jihadist, radical judges are changing life in America. And it's not just women's reproductive rights, but to me, that's huge. You're essentially you're making women second-class citizens. They have no control over their own reproductive aspects of their body.
And when you thought the Trump presidency was over and you could take a breath, now you look around and realize we'll be dealing with the fallout of that presidency and the effect on the federal justice system for decades to come. They stack the court with all these people. This type of ruling, this isn't the last one that we're going to see. They're not done. And that's frightening.
These aren't jurists. They're activists. I just told you, this guy, he hit the streets out of college with this mission. And now it's mission partially accomplished. So his ruling, his judgment, his wording pulls back the curtain on everything. His personal views about abortion are here. Quote, it's a synthetic steroid that blocks the hormone progesterone, halts nutrition, and ultimately starves the unborn human until death. Well, it's not an unborn human. You've crafted the language so it's more incendiary than it would have to be. Plus, it's just not true. Then, in a footnote, he defends his word choice as necessary for scientific accuracy. Quote, jurists often use the word fetus to inaccurately identify unborn humans in unscientific ways.
No, that's exactly accurate.
So, because other jurists, he said, this is going on in the decision, this is in the footnote, because other jurists use the terms unborn human or unborn child interchangeably, and because both terms are inclusive of the multiple gestational stages relevant to the FDA approval, this court uses unborn human or unborn child terminology throughout the order as appropriate. I mean, it's just not appropriate. I mean, the unborn human and unborn child are radioactive terms for a reason. And you use them in a decision because you're trying to make a point. I mean, and it was suggested in op-ed pieces across the country that you see the judge's bias in the way he wrote the decision. I mean, there's no even patina of objectivity. There's just, this guy is a jihadist. So, I mean, I can go on, but this is an alarming judgment. And as Kim has suggested, we'll be living with judgments like this for many years, you know.
We had that decision come out right after the Texas decision on Friday. This judge in, I think, either Oregon or Washington came out with a kind of a contrary decision.
No, that's what I was saying before. Yeah, there's a parallel decision, right.
So at least there's that. But the truth about this mifepristone is that if a woman has a this is one of the instances in which it's used. If you have a fetus, a zygote, actually at that point, that lands in a fallopian tube, it's called a tubal pregnancy. It can't grow in there because when it tries to grow, it explodes the tube and the woman dies. This is a serious issue. It's a tubal pregnancy, and it could kill you. And so when you go to the emergency room having hideous pain, what they give you is mifepristone because they have to get it out of there or everybody dies, right? The zygote and the woman. Well, if you take mifepristone away, I don't know if there are other medications they can use or if then surgery becomes the only option to save your life. But it's a huge problem, especially in an emergent situation, not to mention just in general. But I can't believe that you would take a medication away from women who are facing imminent death.
There are all kinds of reasons that women seek an abortion, and I love that you mentioned that one because the reproductive process can be fraught with all kinds of issues. And I'm not an advocate for abortion. I'm absolutely an advocate for a woman's right to have control over her own body. Right. And I think that's the evolved way to look at this. But what's happened now is a real rollback of time. And I think when you have to go back to a 19th century law to make your point, I think you're now out of step with contemporary America. I mean, you're really seeing the rolling back of so much, at least when it comes to women's reproductive freedoms. I think you're going to see any number of other things. Here you go. CR, thank you for the super sticker for $9.99. Just wait, they'll come after contraception next. Then laws against extramarital sex. It's all to suppress women and put them in their place. We'd better wake up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an old world view of men and women. Leave aside gays, transgender, bisexual, whatever, LGBTQ plus community, whatever. It's a real old world view. So, anyway, that's a little bit of what's going on. And
it's outrageous.
It is. It's sad, you know. And the repercussions are not just going to be with women. The repercussions will be society-wide. So women will be, and families will be driven to extremes. There are draconian laws that enforce this. The Idaho law, which actually penalizes you, and you can go to prison for 2 to 5 years for driving somebody over the border to get an abortion or to get medicines related to abortion. I mean, this is all the stuff that was gurgling beneath the surface that is now coming out. So I've got a big law and disorder. That's probably a big chunk of it. Later, we'll do it in the next hour. I have J6 news. I have news from the prison system. I have news from San Francisco, the crime stats on the heels of the death of the founder of the Cash App. I have all of that in the next hour. But coming up, it's Mark Murder Mystery Monday. And I'll tell you, just to go back to this for a second, we're going to talk way more about this, and we can get way more into it, and I'd be happy to. But we've got to wrap it for now. But look, this is not an issue that's going away, nor should it. So I promise you we will revisit this, and you'll have any number of terrific guests. Well, they're already, they're loaded in the pipeline for this week. But I'm looking forward to hearing David K. Johnston, Rothman, and Katz all weigh in on this and more, not to mention Avila and Shore on Friday. But we'll have more in addition. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yes, smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Right on. Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
There it is on the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Very excited to have Tenuta aboard as a sponsor. So yay. Let's get with the news because former President Trump is warning Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, do not jump into the 2024 presidential race. In a post on Truth Social, Trump claimed DeSantis would divide the Republican Party and hurt his political career. DeSantis has not yet announced that whether or not he'll be running in 2024, but he is expected to enter the race in the coming months. At least 4 people are dead and 8 injured after a shooting at a bank in Kentucky happened at the Old National Bank in downtown Louisville this morning. Police said the shooter is deceased. They believe it was an active or former employee. Meanwhile, 2 close friends of the governor of Kentucky were killed in that shooting. A very emotional Governor Andy Beshear said the bank where the shooting occurred apparently was his bank. He says he's got another friend who's at the hospital, and he hopes that they're going to make it. The United States should consider sending troops to defend Taiwan. That's what Senator Lindsey Graham said on Fox News Sunday. The South Carolina Republican said if the U.S. doesn't up its game in that region, there's going to be war. Progressive lawmakers would like some answers now from the largest depositors at the failed Silicon Valley Bank. Senator Elizabeth Warren said Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sent letters to 14 of the largest depositors, the Democrats requesting that the companies disclose how long they had invested in Silicon Valley Bank and how much money they had deposited there. 90% of all IT professionals have experienced a data security breach. That, according to a new report, that the way data is stored on the cloud and in hybrid environments makes it very vulnerable to cyber attacks. The report finds that, on average, organizations store 61% of their sensitive data in the cloud. Most have experienced at least one cybersecurity breach, threat, or theft of data, with 3/4 experiencing all three. Some strange jellyfish-like creatures washing up on several of Southern California's beaches. Hundreds have been reported near Huntington Beach, Manhattan Beach, and Salt Creek Beach in recent days.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, they look like the Portuguese man o' war, very poisonous. But experts say they're actually a cousin of the jellyfish called Valela.
So are they dangerous or not? Do they sting?
I wouldn't touch them. Yeah. I would go the other way. Yeah, okay. No. Okay, so I want to let you know that this newscast, is sponsored by the incredible people at Tenuta Vineyards. Here's a picture of Tenuta. Tenuta, of course, is child-friendly, is pet-friendly, is cyclist-friendly. Their motto is, you give them 30 minutes, and you're going to be friends for life. They are so friendly and kind.
It was great. I loved it.
So nice. So, of course, Tenuta is home of the Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red blend, which is amazing. And the Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio? And did you know they can also do custom labels? So if you've got family or friends,
which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Celebrating a birthday, anniversary, like maybe a baby or a bridal shower, what have you.
Sure.
Retirement, graduation, maybe you've got a wedding.
I love it.
You got to send them a picture and order a bottle of wine with that picture on the label, on the bottle as the label, and they'll do it. So you can have a
Did you see the new then we'll get off of the not every Tenuta sponsorship is going to go this long, by the way. We're not but we like to welcome them with a big hearty content hug, so they get a big chunk of content because they just joined the show.
Yeah.
But what I would like to say is they've updated the labels on both of the wines that you can get at Tenuta Vineyards. The Mark Thompson Red. Now, again, the cool thing is that you can get your own label at Tenuta. You can get, for your family or your family crest, or you can make up a crest or a logo or whatever. But it's really cool. They have great events there, but they've updated the label to include Kim in the, how about that? So
this is their event space I'm showing you right now.
Uh-huh.
It's very pretty. It's called Cafe Tenuta. You can rent it out for a party or an event. So kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe we should have a Mark Thompson Show event there.
I think that we should have a Mark Thompson Show event.
What?
No, I think so. We haven't come up with it yet, but we will maybe in the future.
Our tremendous thanks to Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore for sponsoring this newscast. I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show.
I'm loving it. Thank you, Kim. I'm feeling good.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
How would you have this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
You cannot say you love your country.
Morning.
Where are my weed smokers at?
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
There's never been anything like this.
What can you tell us about the scene?
What he's got going here is a situation.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Big shout out.
All right on, man. Yeah, smash it. Come on now. Come on now. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It has been a wild start to things. We had if you're just joining us, we stumbled out of the blocks with some technical stuff, but we're on point now.
We've recovered. We're all right.
We have recovered. We are all right. Kim is here. Tony is here. And on Mondays, I'll mention, before I mention Courtney, I do want to mention that Andy Fraknoi is coming up. Professor Andrew Fraknoi is an outstanding astronomer, as you're well aware. He has published, I believe, the most circulated astronomy book in American academia. Mm-hmm. And he has a new book which makes astronomy accessible for kids. We'll talk to him about that. And I want to talk to him about the coming eclipse, solar eclipse, total solar eclipse. There's not the only eclipse. There's a partial eclipse coming also. But I want to talk to him about the eclipse and what plans you might be able to make. And someone who's accompanied me on an eclipse, a total solar eclipse hunt, is joining us now. Ladies and gentlemen, my other half, person I'm madly in love with.
Oh.
We celebrated 8 years, our anniversary this weekend. Courtney.
So sweet. Yeah. What did you guys do?
Oh, it was spectacular. It really was. I don't know we're going to be able for the 9th anniversary to come close to what we did for the 8th anniversary. Do you remember what we did, Courtney? Do you want to just quickly tell Kim what we did for our 8th anniversary? 8 years, 8 glorious years together. What have we done?
We did. We had a very romantic night in, and we watched Tetris.
Oh yeah, the Tetris movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and I made food all night for the both of us.
Yeah,
it's very, very, very romantic.
Okay.
I had 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, vegan cheese.
Exactly.
And Courtney made multiple popcorn bags. And we sat around and just stuffed our faces and watched Tetris.
We did.
I think that works. Happy 8 years, you cuties.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. We did actually go to a very nice dinner on Saturday.
Yes, we did.
But I was leaning into sort of the humor part.
Yeah,
but yes,
I get it.
Mark took us to a very nice dinner on Saturday.
It was a very, very nice dinner.
Leon says, love is never having to say you're sorry. Leon, I think that's not correct. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's...
Leon's never been in love.
I got right. Yeah.
Wrong.
That's what we do. My bad.
My bad.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Love is always having to say you're sorry. Even when you're not, and even when you shouldn't have to say you're sorry. All right, let's get into some business here.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rob.
Murder
Red Rob.
Mystery
Red Rob.
Monday.
On Mondays, we feature a murder mystery. And here to help us with that is Courtney, everyone. My goodness.
Yes, hi. Well,
right.
that was a very lovely introduction. So,
what do you have for us today?
Today I'm talking about Lucille Miller. Some people might know this murder, but if you're not familiar with it, I will say this, and I know that you don't like me mentioning them, but I was listening to the Criminal podcast, and I was so taken by this story, I thought I have to do this.
Oh, I don't mind you mentioning them. I just don't feel like you have to list them at the beginning. That's
okay.
all.
Well, the Criminal podcast.
But this is what inspired you, so that's different. That's different. Okay.
This is the same podcast, Mark, that did the Crazy Eddie story.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all about illegal things that happen, and occasionally there's something that has to do with murder, but I really love this story. So the story I'm doing today is Lucille Miller. She was a Canadian-American housewife and mother who was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of her husband. And prosecutors said that her coming up with this crime was actually inspired by the film Double Indemnity.
Oh, of course. That's
Yes.
a great movie.
Which was a clause, I guess, in their life insurance policy. And so she went about to kill her husband because the couple was very much in debt. I think they were $64,000 in debt. And this all happens in the year of 1964.
This is Barbara Stanwyck you're seeing and Fred McMurray, the two stars of Double Indemnity. It's a really good movie. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So
they don't look at all suspicious in that picture.
No. They're blending. They blend right in. The picture was so stunning. I had to use it. So at the time of the murder, which is 1964, Lucille Miller is just shy of her 35th birthday, and she's married to Dr. Gordon Cork. He is a dentist. They are both Seventh-day Adventists. Yes, and they have 3 children, Deborah, Guy, and Ronnie, and Deborah is pregnant with her 4th child. They move from Oregon to California because at the time, Dr. Miller, was sick of looking in people's mouths as a dentist and wanted to become a doctor.
Yeah.
So they moved to California, and Deborah, who is the eldest child, she's also the only daughter at this time, was part of the Criminal podcast. And she talks about how as she's becoming a teenager during this time, I think she's like 12, 13, she's really growing closer to her mother and somewhat separated from her father because her father doesn't want her to become a teenager. He's having challenges with her maturation. Dr. Miller's also falling into a depression, and that's kind of hurting the household.
Maturation is a ding word. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you go down one, too? Did you already show? Yes. This is the handsome Dr. Miller. Now, that's the handsome Dr. Miller, her husband. Okay, so this is the night in question. So on October 7th, 1964, Lucille Miller is with her husband, Gordon, and he asks for hot chocolate. Mm-hmm. It's 12 o'clock at night. It's midnight, and they don't have any milk. So Lucille gets in the car to go get milk with her husband, as you would do at midnight, leaving your 3 young children. And on their way back from the store, they get into a car accident. So this is 12:30 on October 8th, 1964. They get into a car accident.
You driving a VW Bug?
Yeah, they are.
It just doesn't seem like a Dr. Miller kind of ride.
He also had a hot rod, which is funny you're bringing that up because I think he also had a Thunderbird.
Oh, so
that one of his patients was talking about.
But I see. But he
Can
took
we go back
Bug.
for a second to he asked for hot chocolate? I mean, what part of that is like, get off your ass and make your own hot chocolate?
You know what? How dare you? First of all, he's a doctor. He's bringing home the.
You know, you can
what do they bring home,
hot
honey?
chocolate, pal.
I mean, hot chocolate or grilled cheese.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're allowed to bark out a couple of orders once in a while when you're working as hard as the doctor is.
Well
I'm
done,
on his
my
side.
friend.
Where's my hot chocolate?
Yeah, I mean, this is all allegedly. So I think that this was a ploy to get him into the car. Now, he apparently took a blanket with him. He was very tired.
He didn't even want the hot chocolate. She's trying to get him into the car.
She shoved a bunch of sedatives into him.
You're already on the wrong
My
team.
bad.
No, it's okay.
Exactly right.
Because
My
actually,
bad. I'm sorry.
One of the more important parts of this story is that in the back of the car were the milk cartons, and they were not moved. Now, she claims she got into a car accident going 35 miles an hour, hitting something, and the car exploding into flames. Now, if you're doing that, the milk's going to fall over. It's not going to be standing upright in the back of seat of the car.
So what are you suggesting then? She put the milk in later?
I'm suggesting that she stopped the car, put it into park. She had gasoline inside the car because she often ran out of gasoline. Right. And so she used that as an accelerant. She put the car on fire and killed her husband.
I see.
Yes.
But let me, I'm sorry, this is not my area. The milk cartons you're saying would have been disturbed if they had been there before. So you're saying after the fire she put them in or not?
No, I'm saying that she claims she got into a car accident going 35 miles an hour, hit something, and the car
And
went
you're
into
saying it would have
flames.
moved the...
I'm saying that
I get
the-
it. It would have moved the
milk
carton. So
would have
clearly she
fallen
just lit
over.
it. She just lit it on
Yeah,
fire.
she just lit it on fire.
Okay.
She had this gas in the back of her car because apparently she kept running out of gas. So she gets to a house and tells them that her husband has been in this car accident. The car's on fire. An hour and 15 minutes after the initial flames started.
Oh, well, so she made sure that he was burnt to a crisp,
Yeah,
and then she called.
She took the scenic route to the first home that she could find. And she's arrested later that day. Her daughter talks about getting up in the morning, seeing police cars in the driveway, and knowing that her father was dead. Just having that knowledge that this was her father dead. And so she goes and speaks to her mother, and the mother's ultimately arrested later that day. There's an indictment that is served on October 20th. As I mentioned, they were very much in debt, $64,000 in debt. But the life insurance policy was $125,000. So it really took care of a lot of the issues that they had. In addition to that, Lucille was having an affair with a gentleman named Arthwell Hayton. He was a lawyer. He was also a Seventh-day Adventist. His daughter was very good friends with their daughter. They were having an affair. They claimed that the affair ended months before the car accident.
Arthwell Hayton.
But Arthwell's wife died several months earlier from sedatives.
Oh.
So you're starting to see a pattern here with Lucille Miller.
What? Yeah, this is
crazy.
really looking tough.
It's crazy. It gets even crazier. So they go to trial. Deborah, the daughter, goes to trial every day. She actually doesn't even go to school that year. She's tutored on the weekends.
To support her mom.
Support her mom. And if you go down just a couple, you'll
Does she
see...
maintain her mom's innocence?
So weird you ask that, because she does. In fact, she does until her mother's funeral. For her entire adult life, until the day that her mother died, she believed that her mother was innocent.
Wow.
And you know what made her? And the reason that she considered that her mom might be culpable or responsible for the death was that she found out her mother had stolen a bunch of clothes from a friend during the funeral. And it was like this culmination of things coming together.
Wait a minute. During the funeral, she stole
She
clothes?
found out during the funeral that at the time,
I see. I'm sorry,
she had
I get it
stolen
now.
some clothes.
Okay.
Well, if you can steal, you can kill.
Exactly. Slippery slope.
Wow.
So if you just go down, for those watching, I have a couple pictures of the jury looking at a replication of the car. And there's also a very iconic picture. It's Lucille and her attorney, and they are framed inside of the burnt tire.
Wow.
And that was done by Bettman Corpus, who has a huge estate that's very well known. Actually, that Bill Gates bought, which is interesting.
Oh, wow.
But this is a very iconic picture.
The picture was taken by the guy who sold his place to Bill Gates?
Well, he sold his entire collection. His estate was sold to Bill Gates, but he was a very famous journalist, photographer.
I didn't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, look at you with the all the information.
Well, I was particularly moved by this photo. It really sort of tells an entire story. So she's convicted very quickly. They don't believe Lucille, and she's convicted. And actually, as the verdict is read, Deborah cries out in the courtroom, and Lucille turns around and says, "We don't act like that in public." And that's the last time that the daughter speaks to her mother in the courtroom.
Wow.
And then Lucille goes to jail. This happened on March 5th, 1965. Lucille appeals the verdict. And actually, someone who we had talked about earlier during the Boston Strangler, F. Lee Bailey, is her representation in front of the Supreme Court.
Sure.
But she's ultimately still kept in jail. She's given a life sentence, but after 7 years, she's paroled. And during her time in jail, she becomes a drug lord. So this Seventh-day Adventist mother of three starts to sell drugs in prison, and her daughter is the one bringing in the drugs. It's mostly mace but it's vodka and mace and actually Lancome makeup.
Oh my God.
There's never been anything like this.
Wow. That's extraordinary. Oh my God. So she really became a little bit of a drug kingpin.
She does. I mean, she really is committed to doing horrendous acts of criminal behavior. And that includes having her 14, 15-year-old daughter be her drug mule. And she talks about hiding the drugs and the vodka inside of her pea coat, the daughter does, and having to like put them in trash cans and having her mother sort of hide them in her outfit and her other places on her body.
God, there's a lot to keep track of.
I know, it's really
I have a busy week.
Yeah, I'm hiding all my
Very funny.
my vodka and mace.
Sort of the last thing that I'll mention before I wrap it up is actually there's a young reporter who leaves Vogue and moves to California because she's from California. And this young reporter begins to report on and watch this trial, and that is Joan Didion. And the essay that she writes on this story actually was really part of what propelled her into success and sort of fame. It's called Some Dreamers of the Golden Dream, and it originally appeared in the Saturday Evening Post, but it's ultimately also part of her book, Slouching Toward Bethlehem.
Yeah, we're showing it on the screen now.
Yeah, which I think was her first nonfiction book. So it's really interesting. Joan Didion wrote this essay about them and also about the San Bernardino Valley that I think wasn't really well received.
Wow.
Yeah. And ultimately...
So ultimately, yeah, go ahead. Ultimately, she's paroled after 7 years. Wow.
Lucille is. This is before...
Even if she was found guilty of her husband's murder.
Yes, because this was before Furman v. Georgia, where a life sentence was no parole. So she was paroled after 7 years. She was apparently a model inmate. And she dies at 56 of breast cancer. Her 3 kids marry, but none of them have children. 2 of them are teachers. 1 of them is a dentist. And then the 4th little girl that she had, which some are suspect of it actually being Dr. Miller's child and not Arthwell Hayton's child. That little girl is Kimmy Kai Miller, named by the 3 children, which is a little weird because I'm not sure if you all have the same father. And Kimmy Kai Miller is born while Lucille's in incarceration, but dies at age 25 from lung cancer.
Well, there's a lot there to digest. Basically, it's a family drawn to crime as a result of the mother's involvement with the murder of the father.
Yes.
It's a twisted web.
It's a really interesting, I can't recommend enough looking at this story, but also the Criminal Podcast did a really incredible job.
I love it. Well, I love that you're here. There it is again, the crash site. Dr. Gordon Miller, offed by his wife. Just celebrated 8 years with Courtney. And I'll tell you, I sleep with one eye open, everybody.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Never can be too careful. Girl's got a lot of ideas, if you know what I mean.
I know. I just need a car.
Courtney, everybody. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Hi,
I loved
happy
it.
anniversary.
Oh,
it was,
thanks, Kim. Hi.
Kim,
Hi.
so
Thank you for
sweet.
having me.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yes, if you're just joining us, those drops make me think of Mark's Madness, the celebrity bracket. There was a tie for the winner. John Daly tied with Michael Snyder. So when those guys visit on Friday, we'll bestow upon them the appropriate awards and adulation. Coming up, Andrew Fraknoi. Professor Franknoi will talk eclipse, cosmos, the lunar mission that's planned, and also exploration of Mars. There's a lot going on. Then at 11:30, It's law and disorder. We'll revisit a bit this legal judgment that has thrown America on its side when it comes to women's reproductive rights, likely appeal to the Supreme Court. Drones in prisons. Iowa makes a huge announcement about abortions and contraception. And San Francisco crime. All of that still to come. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Mark Thompson Show. Kim's News next, and then the great Andrew Fraknoi.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and we begin this newscast with a situation going on in the Kentucky area. This is an issue at a bank. It's kind of a fuzzy picture. You can see police arriving there, but this is how it unfolded. 5 people involved in this, 4 of them dead, while 8 others injured, actually, after a shooting at a bank in Kentucky. This happened in downtown Louisville, Kentucky this morning, actually. Police say the suspect has been killed. Again, 4 people dead, 8 wounded. The Nashville City Council is now holding an emergency meeting regarding one of the lawmakers that was expelled from the House there, the state legislature there. They're discussing potentially reinstating Democrat Justin Jones. He was kicked out of the Tennessee House last week for protesting gun violence on the floor after a deadly school shooting there. Justin Pearson was also removed, and the Shelby County Board of Commissioners is considering restating him as well. So both may get their jobs back in a real hurry. The White House, of course, held its annual Easter egg roll today, because you know how they roll at the White House. Got to do it. The President Biden and First Lady welcomed guests to the White House South Lawn alongside 2 Easter bunnies. The White House estimates about 30,000 people were in attendance at this year's event. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas should be impeached. That's according to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, the New York Democrat argued that Thomas's failure to report the lavish gifts and hospitality from a GOP donor constitutes a conflict of interest and a breaking of the law. Oh, Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama apologizing after video emerged of him kissing a young boy on the lips and asking the boy to suck on his tongue. This video, filmed last month, has drawn outrage from some. A statement out today from the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader's office says he wants to apologize to the boy and his family for the hurt that his words may have caused. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
You didn't even give me a chance to...
and I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Give a brother a chance. That's all I'm trying to say. My God.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I mean, a Dalai Lama apology is unlike any other apology, don't you think? That's really strong.
I mean,
and the Dalai Lama, I'm guessing the Dalai Lama has probably almost never apologized. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, the Dalai Lama has to hand out an apology because he does something creepy with a kid. I'm saying that's a teachable moment, as you kids say. That's a teachable moment. Smash the like button like a boss. Hit the thumbs up.
Rod.
We're just hitting stride. It's taken us about 40 minutes, but we're just hitting it now.
We're in it now. Woo!
Great to have you. And I'm glad we got all the, all the kinks out of the hose before we get this guy on. One of my favorite people that I've ever had on the radio is a guy who I always felt, like Carl Sagan, brought issues and concepts about the cosmos to the Bay Area, to Californians, and also to the nation, but I mean, particularly in California. He's the emeritus chair of the astronomy department at Foothill College, teaching at the University of San Francisco and San Francisco State University. He's the lead author of OpenStack's astronomy textbook. This, I believe, is the most frequently used introductory astronomy textbook in the United States. And this is the new information, he is co-author of a children's book on eclipses. It's called When the Sun Goes Dark. You can see all of this stuff at Franknoi.com, Franknoi.com. Tony, you'll put that up there before the end of the conversation, Franknoi.com. And welcome him now, the great Professor Dr. Andrew Fraknoi. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that rousing introduction.
We love you, sir. We love you. I want to ask you about this kid's book. I would, astronomy, I think, comes to all of us as kids a little bit as sci-fi, a little bit as the mystery of the cosmos, all these different fragments of things that create interest. And then, obviously, some of us, yourself among the examples I can think of, run with it for an entire life, So when you come up with this kid's book, I think that's great because it can build the intrigue and the explanation associated with so many natural events. Tell me about the kid's book.
Well, thank you for asking. This is very relevant because there are 2 eclipses of the sun coming up in the next year or so. In October of 2023 and April of 2024, there will be eclipses of the sun visible from the United States. And so my co-author and I thought we should write a book for kids explaining what the heck an eclipse is and why we see them. And turns out the only planet in the entire solar system where you can see a total eclipse of the sun is planet Earth.
Is that right? That's cool. Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The book is called When the Sun Goes Dark. It's published by the nonprofit National Science Teaching Association Press, and it's all about eclipses for kids. And we think that this is the kind of slow, fun explanation that kids will need to understand what's happening in the sky.
That's really cool. We're showing the cover art now. So let's talk about the eclipses, because one of the things that you need to do for a total eclipse of the sun generally is because it covers a limited part of the Earth. That is to say, not everybody on Earth is going to see the total eclipse. You kind of have to plan travel, and you have to plan a strategy for making sure you're there at the critical moment. So in a way, I'm loving that we're kind of creating a long runway for people to make a plan and maybe get interested in it. I've done it twice, and it's spectacular.
And you're talking about the total eclipse of the sun.
I am. That's a year away, am I not?
That's right. April, it's going to happen on Monday, April 8th, 2024. Put that date in your calendar. And some kind of eclipse, not the kind you're talking about, but some kind of eclipse will be visible to 500 million people in North America. So every part of the United States, parts of Canada and Mexico will all see a partial eclipse where the moon covers a part of the sun. And then, as you correctly said, in a small path, maybe 100 miles wide, people will be able to see the moon exactly covering the sun. And when that happens, the sun essentially goes out, only its faint atmosphere becomes visible. The day turns into night. It becomes unnaturally still. Animals think it's nighttime and they go back to their habitats. It's really a strange and eerie feeling. And you see the dark sphere of the moon outlined by the hazy glow of the sun's atmosphere behind it in a dark sky. Really a once in a lifetime experience. And so there will be parts of the United States where this total eclipse will be visible, starting in Texas and going northeastward over to New England. You can look this up. There are many places on the web. Just Google Eclipse 2024. There's a great website called greatamericaneclipse.com where you can see all the maps of where it will be best. But as Mark says, it's absolutely now is the best time to prepare for something like this a year away, because only those in the know are planning ahead right now, which you get to be one of them because you're listening to the Mark Thompson show. But only those in the know are making reservations. In a few months, more of the public will become aware of it, and then it'll be hard to make plans.
That's just the greatest point. I mean, that's sort of like news you can use on this. One of the reasons I really wanted to have Andrew Fraknoi with us is that this does seem like it's a year off, but the reality is they're plans you need to make now. Now, I'd heard this. I'd heard that the chances of seeing a total solar eclipse of the sort that you described, the total eclipse, I think they're less than 50% over a lifetime, or maybe it's 50-50. So these are the percentages I heard. You can correct me or tell me if generally this is right. But after you've seen one, the chances of seeing a second one go up to like 78 or 80%. And that means, in other words, people are so struck, amazed by this moment. I mean, it's really transcendent, I would say, almost, that they deliberately seek out the next eclipse. And so that's why the percentages rise that way.
Right. Eclipse fever is something, once you get it, you're hooked. So you're absolutely right. And eclipses are rare in any given part of the world. That is total eclipses, because the path is so narrow. Most often there will not be one right over you. You have to make plans to travel, but we live in a world where people travel all over the world. And so it's a total eclipse happens somewhere in the world just about once a year. It's actually, this eclipse possibility is twice a year, but not all the eclipses become total. And so there are eclipses to be seen, but mostly they're far away from where you live, and you have to plan ahead.
It's interesting. So you can knock around on the web, and you can figure out if there is if there's an eclipse you want to check out somewhere in the world that you may want to go.
Google it.
Yeah, check it out. I want to ask you about, they have this, well, I'm pausing because for a long time, the space shuttle, I was always really swept up in the space exploration thing. That's because a sci-fi really hit me. And so we had those Apollo missions, we had the Gemini missions, all the rest. The manned missions, and pardon the expression now, in the, evolved culture that we're in. But, with people inside, going to various places, out there in the cosmos. And so the space shuttle kind of bummed me out because it was sort of a more utilitarian view of space. We're going to service the space station, put satellites up there, and the wonderment of space exploration was kind of lost for a second. So here's my, I'm getting around to, they are now talking about, is it the Artemis now, this crew that will be the next group of explorers to kind of get back to what we were doing decades ago, which is space exploration, even if it's near space.
Yep. And as I answer your question, Mark, there are two people fighting inside me. There's the science fiction fan, just like you, who loves this idea that we're, going back into space with people. That's so cool. And then there's the sober scientist inside me who says the money being spent on this crude space program is so large, and all we're doing is repeating something we've done, which is going to the moon. Whereas for that kind of money, we could launch dozens of space telescopes that really reveal what the universe is like the new James Webb Space Telescope is doing right now. So I'm both excited and a little sad that we're going back to the moon. NASA says that they need to go back to the moon before they can think about going to Mars. And it is true that we're going back to the moon in a slightly different way than before. What's interesting about the Artemis program is that they're not going to just go to the moon, bang. They're going to go around the moon next time. This may happen as soon as this fall, although there have been a lot of delays. But they're not going to land on the moon until they put a space station in orbit around the moon. And it's that gateway, that space station around the moon, that's going to be the staging area from which astronauts will then go down to the moon. And that same technique can be used on Mars, where we put a space station in orbit around Mars, and then eventually astronauts could go from that space station down to the surface of Mars. So this is a new approach, and the actual landings on the moon won't happen until the 2030s. So don't hold your breath. But still, it is a resumption and an expansion of the human space program.
I love that you recalibrated me in just 30 seconds, which is an amazing thing when you made the point about the money and sort of the bang for the buck. I literally changed my opinion of this exploratory aspect of government spending. The space exploration I'm talking about, from what it was. I think I was caught up in the wonderment, and you're right. It's and here's the context I put it in. Because I'm a tree hugger, I see the devastation that we're doing to this planet, and I see the way in which, in a way, we're ignoring. I mean, as a society and as a society that builds policies for the future, we're ignoring the devastation that we're doing to the planet. We're killing this planet, right? So rather than focusing on the death of this planet and trying to stave that off, we're loading people at great cost into these space capsules and firing them up. And so, Andrew Fraknoi, you really, I think you whipped my head around on this one. So, yeah.
And it is true that we really need to look at the Earth as one planet, just as you're saying, because the planet is in trouble. And while we're so busy fighting each other and dealing with divisions amongst ourselves, one thing astronomy can teach us is that we're a tiny blue planet in the vastness of the universe, and there isn't another place where we could easily live. We've explored now all the planets and moons with which we share the solar system, and there isn't a single other world where humans could just walk without a spacesuit. Not one world is habitable for us. And
when you say yeah, I had a follow-up. Go ahead.
We can't then have another place to live. So I'm just seconding what you're saying, that it's a real responsibility that we take care of this planet.
And I hear you. And the other thing I would suggest is, let's say that there was a habitable planet, and I don't know, where Neptune is or something. I don't know, where you find it. This just in, we ain't going there. Okay? I mean, this is where we are. They're not going to fire up the buses for, that ride to Neptune, which would take, I don't know how many years to get there just to begin with. But they're not firing that up anytime soon. And then I will double back. So we need this place because this is the only place we're going to be. The Mars or even lunar colonization or whatever they're talking about, it's total crap. The Elon Musk thing is total crap. And now I come back to Mars, and I think I've asked you this before, but maybe you can reiterate it for me. Mars exploration, you'd even alluded to the fact that, this might be the strategy that you'd have where you have a space station circling Mars, orbiting, and then setting things up for various probes or for actually some kind of landing on Mars. Getting to Mars, Andrew Fraknoi, that is close to impossible right now with the radioactivity alone, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I think what you're referring to is that it's a long trip to Mars. And
okay.
The sun does put out radiation. The charged particles travel at 1,000,000 miles per hour from the sun. We call this the sun's wind. And you get a certain amount of radiation exposure. So astronauts going on a long trip in the solar system will have to wear the same kind of radiation counters that people working in nuclear power plants do and make sure they're not overexposed. We'll have to shield our spacecraft from this exposure. But here's why I think somebody needs to explore Mars, whether it's people or robots. We think early Mars, billions of years ago, was much more like the Earth. Today, Mars is dry as dust. But early Mars probably had lakes and oceans. We've actually landed a robot in one of those lakes right now. So early Mars had lakes and oceans and a thicker atmosphere and the possibility of a second Genesis, of an independent start to life, quite separate from the Earth. And fossils of that early life may still survive in the dried up lake beds on Mars. So that's why we're going to Mars, not to colonize, not to move our culture, but to see if we can find another place where life began.
Oh, that's really fascinating. Thank you. See, I learn with Andrew Fraknoi. I really do. This is great stuff. Well, I'm fascinated by all this stuff, and I love that you bring it to life. You only lecture in the academic environment now, and of course your book Astronomy, as we said, it's the most frequently used introductory astronomy textbook in the United States, and it's available online. It's part of that OpenStax program, isn't that right? So where you make this available, it's a way to relieve everybody of the burden of having to pay for textbooks.
Right. OpenStax is a project at Rice University, and their mission is to produce an introductory textbook in every field that students take in college. Because textbooks are so expensive, it's especially hard for students in community colleges to pay hundreds of dollars for textbooks. And these textbooks are all free online. And I think it's a really worthwhile project. And we were very pleased to be asked to be the astronomy team. And we put together this free online textbook that anyone can read, and that now some 700,000 students have used around the country.
Are you optimistic about our future?
Well, I have to be, because there's no alternative. This is it. We're it. I think the amazing thing about the human species is our brains are always figuring out new solutions to problems. So even as the energy crisis is looming over us and we're having a lot of trouble with the carbon-based energy products, we're devising new ways to use solar energy. We're figuring out ways to use the wind and other natural processes and make energy for our planet. So I'm optimistic about the human brain. We can figure out so much when we put our minds to good use rather than to fighting each other.
Hear, hear. Really, really great stuff. Andrew Fraknoi, I'm a huge fan, and so excited that you could spare some time with us. And I was trying to figure out if there was a way. Do you give lectures that are open to the public at all? I mean, you do. I mean, you're really an ambassador for science. You must do some of that, right?
Thank you so much. I do. There are a couple of ways that people can hear me. As you kindly said, I do talk in these programs for retired people. Both the University of San Francisco and San Francisco State have programs where retired people can come back and take fun classes without term papers, exams, or grades. It's called the Fromm Institute. It's the University of San Francisco and the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at San Francisco State. And I do give six session short classes there. And actually on May 10th, I'm going to give a public lecture at my old college, Foothill College in Los Altos, all about these two upcoming eclipses. And if people come to that lecture, they can even get a free pair of eclipse glasses to observe the eclipse safely. The Moore Foundation has donated glasses to the eclipse outreach. And so May 10th, I'll be talking at Foothill College about the eclipse. So I do give talks from time to time.
That's great. So yeah,
I love
Google
appearing on programs like yours to help.
We love having you on. We'll have you on again if you have time. And obviously, as these eclipses draw closer, we'll do that as well. And again, the book that we showed is the kids' book. It's When the Sun
Goes Dark.
Goes dark, exactly. When the Sun Goes Dark. And get all of this information at, there it is, we're showing it on screen now, When the Sun Goes Dark. It's a kid's book designed for children about eclipses. So, When the Sun Goes Dark. Good stuff. Andrew Fraknoi, please visit again. Really enjoy you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Andrew Fraknoi, everybody. Yeah. Love my Andrew Fraknoi.
The Mark Thompson Show. The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
to you that instead of running around, given the nature of all this news, this could be a lot more complex. I mean, it's not just. It might not be just such a simple,
You know what, Hal? You created havoc and chaos. Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Girl, you just woo. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Smash the like button like a boss. I want to revisit some of the stuff that we touched on the top of the show. I'm counting on you, Tony, and you, Kim, to curate a bit of the comments. If you think there's anything we should go back to, I'm happy to, remark on anything or respond to anything. And what do you want to do now? I have a brimming Law and Disorder that I'll do after Kim's newscast. What did you want to do, Tony? Did you have a plan?
Well, if we're going to do Law and Disorder after, let's do the supers now.
All right, let's do
now.
the super chats and super stickers. People have been very kind. Always kind of you to contribute to this crowd-funded show. I have my credibility glasses on so that I can read everyone's contribution and comment. So this is what was mentioned at the beginning of the show, that contraception is the next thing that the courts are going to go after, the radical right-wing courts. CR for $9.99, then laws against extramarital sex. It's all to suppress women and, quote, put them in their place. Yep. We'd better wake up. Can't disagree. It's a very old world view of women and roles in society, and I'm disgusted by it. But thank you for the $9.99. Thank you very much. Big Dan Ashley shout
Big shout out.
Kim R., the other Kim. Thank you for that. $9.99.
Big shout out.
Quick 10 thrown into the tip jar. Thank you, Spencer Jaffe, too. Appreciate that, Spencer. Very cool. Regular listener, regular contributor. So appreciate it. Luis, happy anniversary to Mark and Courtney.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, $20 to keep us alive. Big Dan Ashley, shout out. Thank you so much, pal. Yeah. Donation for Mark and his wife's 8th wedding anniversary. Oh. Thank you, Elle. Love that name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elle. Elwin. Yes, I did stuff my face on my 8th anniversary with 2 grilled cheese sandwiches at 11:45 at night. It's a vegan cheese, but that doesn't matter. It's fat. And that's why it tastes
Thank you so much.
Tastes so good. But yeah, there's something about the decadence of late night eating that really is unparalleled, That's one of the problems with
That's the thing for the youth.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing, man. I mean,
the older you get, it's like, I don't think this is a good idea anymore.
Exactly, right. My doctor's looking at my cholesterol levels and all the, what is that? The good LDL and HDL. But the power of late night eating, God, I love it. There is nothing. I did it last night.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, it was 11:45 last night, and I'd heard that Succession, something really big happened, and rather than miss it, I'll put it another way. Rather than have it ruined for me by social media, which I'm kind of on, or by some kind of alert, I wanted to watch a little. So I watched half the episode last night, and while I watched it, I stuffed my face. So it's the late night face stuff. It's so good, and yet it's so bad for you.
Make me hot chocolate.
Yeah, make me a hot chocolate and grilled cheese. Anyway, that's the latest on that. All right, guys, I have a really brimming Law and Disorder segment. As I say, there's a lot going on. It's not all just related to these judges. So we'll get to that. Smash the like button like a boss.
With your iron rod.
We're completely crowdfunded, so I appreciate all of you who've made contributions. We try to recognize you. Oh, by the way, this is it. On the merch site, which is getmarkmerch.com, the new winner of Mark's Madness, the drop that won it all. Do you remember? It was either Good Day, Sir, or Why Are You Yelling?
Why are you yelling?
And Good Day, Sir won.
Good day, sir.
You can get a Good Day, Sir mug at getmarkmerch.com. And I think they're reasonably priced, 11-ounce mugs with the Good Day, Sir on one side and the Mark Thompson Show logo on the other. So,
I would
very
imagine
strong
that's
choice.
for a limited time.
I believe it is for a limited time.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing it out.
While supplies last.
Yes. Well, you can try to get us after the time has passed, but I'm afraid not often are we able to accommodate those requests.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Exactly. Once the time has passed, it's passed. All right. As I say, Law and Disorder still to come. Smash the like button like a boss. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's get to right what the public feels all about the case against a former president. It appears a majority of Americans believe former President Trump intentionally did something illegal as it relates to his New York hush money case. That according to a new ABC News Ipsos poll, which puts the number at 53%. Last week, former President Trump was formally charged and pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts related to hush money payments made during his 2016 presidential campaign. President Biden, it turns out, plans to run for re-election. That's what he is saying. In 2024, he says, I'm going to run again. The president telling NBC's Al Roker on the Today Show he intends to seek a second term, but he's not yet ready to make an official announcement. President Biden has said for months he intends to run. Reports say he may wait until the summer to officially kick off his campaign. And King Charles III will be coronated as monarch of the United Kingdom in less than a month. The official ceremony for Charles and Queen Consort Camilla is expected to start at 6 a.m. Eastern Time at Westminster Abbey on May 6th. It is the first coronation there in nearly 70 years since Queen Elizabeth took the crown before becoming the UK's longest-serving monarch.
I love a coronation, don't you, Kim?
I love a good coronation, and it's been a while since we've had one. So
some people feel they're a bit showy, but I find the showy aspect of it to be
you really can't
one of
have
the most
too much
endearing aspects.
Pomp and circumstance, right?
Precisely. Thank you. That's oftentimes a concept lost on people.
So I have this picture to show you of this little girl. See if I can get the.
Is this the one that the Dalai Lama licked?
No, sadly, this is not. This is sorry, I'm trying to get rid of Charles. Go away, King Charles. This is a really sad situation. This little girl, she was shot on the freeway. Yeah, another Bay Area freeway shooting. This little girl, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see her picture here. This is a picture from ABC7. It's a heartbreaker, you guys. These parents, they're going to have to bury their 5-year-old daughter. They were driving to dinner on Saturday night when this girl was shot and killed on Interstate 880, less than 2 weeks before her birthday. It happened near the Fremont-Milpitas border at Dixon Landing Road on 880. Police say someone pulled up alongside their vehicle and opened fire. 3 possible suspects were arrested hours later. A gun has been recovered, but this little girl's life is gone. I'm just, I can't even. There's so many freeway shootings in the Bay Area, and I just can't.
These are random acts, right?
I
mean, it's not certainly. There's no motivation to kill this little girl. I mean,
No.
there's not. Right. I mean,
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I guess the parents could have been involved in something. That remains to be seen. Or it could be random because it's happened before here in the Bay Area. Rally is being planned today in the Oakland freeway killing of a 23-month-old boy. Supporters demanding justice for Jasper Wu. Remember him? That was a random attack. He was a little boy in his car seat in the back of the car when he was shot. A stray bullet hit him on Interstate 80 2 years ago. The protest will happen outside the Alameda County Courthouse putting pressure on the new district attorney. That is Pamela Price, who met with the victim's family to say she hasn't decided yet on murder charges filed against the 3 suspects. A judge already rejected a plea deal. So, yeah. There's about 300 self-driving robo-taxis being recalled right now in San Francisco. Cruise apparently needs to upgrade its software after a crash last month. It seems one of these cars smacked into the back of a minibus. So the company says their testing shows that won't happen again.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The cars use cameras and radar to run without a driver, reacting to different scenarios. Right now, they're only available during off-peak hours, but Cruise is trying to get approved for all day long. And to no one's surprise, the Super Mario Brothers movie is this week's top film in North America.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
It got a lukewarm review here from the culture blaster, Michael Snyder. What did you think of it? You went and saw it this weekend, didn't you?
I failed to see it.
Oh, you didn't make it?
No, I didn't make it.
You were busy with the aftermath of the... you were ramping up to the
True.
Easter Bunny
Right.
scandal. Yeah.
Michael Snyder called it a mediocre candy box of colors and noise. The Universal release it's a Nintendo video game on the Nintendo video game, earned just over $146 million in its first weekend at theaters across the US and Canada. They did all right without us. Coming in at second, John Wick Chapter 4. Nearly $15 million, followed by Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves with $14.5 million. So there you have it.
Love it.
God bless America.
On the Mark
we
Thompson
show up.
Show.
We show up to our John Wick, and we show up to our Mario Brothers.
Our Mario Brothers, yeah.
That's
it. I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show,
you
baby.
said
That's
it already once, didn't you? I heard it.
Let's say it again. I'm going to double close
The
out.
Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I didn't respond quickly enough, did I?
No, it's call for my music.
Yeah, it's thank you. I don't know. We don't have like a standard lockout, and I'm not really, except for that, I'm Kim McAllister. Sometimes it sneaks up on me.
Sorry.
I want to thank you for smashing the like button.
It with your iron rod.
It's free, of course, and thank you for subscribing and sharing the show. That's also free. As we try to grow audience, this is a homegrown show. And as I've told you, this is the weirdest thing. Among the things that are awkward that you have to kind of get used to is saying, hey, we're homegrown. Appreciate your support. We need more of it. Many of you have stepped up. In fact, Tony's with us today, and he's with us all week. And Tony updates the crawl at the end of the show, and that acknowledges so many who step up in PayPal and Patreon. You can go either way with those contributions. And, honestly,
Thanks, Tony.
Those contributions are particularly good because they don't take as much, on YouTube. They take a lot from it. Now, let me be clear. YouTube is great because it's a frictionless kind of contribution, which means you don't have to click multiple times to make a contribution on YouTube, which is why it's so terrific, and we love it. And we love all of you who are those who are inclined to give us super stickers, super chats, and all the rest. By going to Patreon and PayPal, you have to go to our website, themarkthompsonshow.com, and you click contribute. So that's an extra click. They call that friction, all right? And so as you create friction, people are less likely to do it. So that's that's 30 seconds on that. But those of you who have gone those extra clicks, go to themarkthompsonshow.com, click on the Patreon or PayPal. That money, most of it stays with the show. So that's why it's so terrific. So all of you who've contributed that way, there are many monthly supporters, and we're really completely, we're completely grateful to you. I mean, I was talking to somebody this week, and I said, without the audience stepping up, the show goes away. So thank you very much for that.
A quick thing, I'll put in the description of the show after we're done today. I'll put in the descriptions link to the website and everything else, so you can get all the links. The links will all be in the description of the show after we're done today.
Oh, that's so cool! Thank you, Tony. Tony,
Thanks,
cool.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony is very good with that kind of thing. He's good with most kinds of things that he puts his,
I don't know Tony, but I assume it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a shame I'm so lazy.
Trevor in Concord sent us that.
I don't know Tony, but I assume it's great.
And it's a good drop. I like it. All right, we continue. Here we go.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's do some law and disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Well, it's no surprise we talked a lot about these various abortion bans and various decisions that will affect the future of reproductive rights in America. And so it should come as little surprise that in this new activist radical way, you have an Iowa Attorney General, Brenna Bird. She's a Republican. She's halted the state's practice of paying for rape victims' abortions and emergency contraceptives. The Des Moines Register is reporting this. The state is required to cover the costs of forensic exams and treatments for sexually transmitted diseases for victims of sexual assault.
Right.
While not mandated by state law, Iowa has also previously used its Victim Compensation Fund to cover Plan B and abortions. As part of her top-down, bottom-up audit of victim assistance, Attorney General Bird, this is a quote from the Register, is carefully evaluating whether it is an appropriate use of public funds. Until the review is complete, payment of these pending claims will be delayed. Bird was elected. Okay, so this is what the people stated in their vote. Bird ousted longtime Democratic Attorney General Tom Miller. That was in the 2022 election. Miller was in the office for almost 3 decades. The decision to halt Iowa's coverage of abortions and emergency contraceptives comes as a pair of federal judges, of course, ruled almost simultaneously on the FDA approval of mifepristone on Friday night. So there's a lot going on in the way of women's reproductive rights, even in the case of rape.
Oh, I can't even. So what they're saying is that if you've been raped, they don't care whether or not you get pregnant. And that your whole life will change because of that. I mean, your life's already changed anyway. But now this is a daily ongoing occurrence that your life will be changed.
They're saying they don't want their money, Iowa money, spent on rape victims' abortions. So you will have to carry that baby to term if you were raped and you don't have the money to in any way abort that pregnancy. Painful decision though it might be, it's something that certainly should be an option. And in Iowa, they're saying they're reviewing it. It's not final, but for the moment, while they review it, they are stopping it. This is a very high-stakes question. The question.
Huge in Japan writes, my sentence was way too long. He says, they simply don't care about people. Yeah.
The Boston Straight Pride Parade organizer, the dude who wanted to do a straight, like, how there's a gay pride parade? You want to do a straight
trying to make a point.
Pride parade. Yeah, exactly. It's the, he's facing a felony charge for, if you guessed January 6th, yeah, you got it. He faces up to 20 years in prison for an obstruction charge. He's a lead organizer of Boston's Straight Pride Parade and now facing a charge for his alleged participation in the mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Mark Sahady is 48 years old from Malden, Massachusetts, indicted by a federal grand jury this week. This is the end of last week when we got this story, for obstruction of an official proceeding. He had previously been facing lesser charges of entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds without lawful legal authority, and then a bunch of others like disorderly and disruptive conduct, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
The indictment, filed at the end of last week, carries the new felony charge, upping his potential prison time. If convicted from of this charge, His prison time now goes from 6 months to a year for each of the other criminal offenses, and up to 20 years for the new obstruction charge. Shahidi is allegedly someone who posted several messages on social media prior to the breach of the U.S. Capitol, calling for, quote, millions of Americans to, quote, show up in D.C. on January 6th to support the legitimate President Donald Trump and show Democrats what they will be facing if they continue to try and steal the presidency. He then tweeted about transportation. He stated that 7 buses were coming to take participants to the Capitol. 2 days later, he tweeted, January 6th, Washington, D.C., it begins. And as I say, he was the guy who was organizing the straight community for straight pride parade festivities in Boston. There's concern about drugs, contraband, not on the streets of San Francisco. Well, you know, contraband, you know it's got to be what? A prison. And indeed it is. Prisoners get what they want: drugs, phones, and other contraband. This stuff has been smuggled in by guards and by visitors. It's been flung over fences, according to this piece in the LA Times, even stashed inside hollowed-out pastries in care packages.
Oh,
now
the drugs in the cake routine, eh?
Yeah, I mean it's as old as time. A tale as old as time, right?
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It has worked, apparently. It's worked in large numbers, large enough numbers that they have finally charged 2 dudes in Fresno with using drones and dropping large loads of meth, heroin, cocaine, tobacco, and cell phones into the yards of 7 prisons across California.
What?
Yeah. Along with drug trafficking offenses, the men are going to face airspace violations. I love that they played. And another thing, Your Honor, they violated airspace. You know, that's sacred airspace over these prisons. They operated unregistered aircraft, and they were flying without a certificate while they're dropping their meth. I wouldn't sweat the certificate if you're going to be dropping meth and firearms. The 2 guys have pleaded not guilty. There's a large problem right now with drone activity, said a gang investigator at Sentinel State Prison. The issue isn't confined to California. 2 men have been charged in separate cases in Texas. And the U.S. Attorney in Dallas is saying, quote, contraband drone deliveries are quickly becoming the bane of prison officials' existence, even in Texas.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
An inmate, here's how it works, sends a phone's GPS location to the drone pilot. That drone pilot uses the phone as a homing device. Then the payload is often disguised as a rock or a piece of trash, just in case a guard spots it in the prison yard before it can be retrieved. The deputies do shoot down these drones. They just recently shot one down in a case that was involving the LA County jail system in Castaic in Southern California. Anyway, these 2 dudes who they just have arrested, and they have now brought charges against them in Fresno, they piloted the drones under cover of darkness. They coordinated the drops with inmates who used contraband phones, according to the indictment. And this is an interesting, you may say, you know, how many inmates have a phone? That's what I would ask. I mean, really? They've got phones there? Yeah. You'll be surprised. Yeah. It's illegal to have phones in prison. In California prisons, how many phones did they confiscate just last year? Illegal phones in the prisons of California. How many were confiscated just last year?
That's hard.
It is. It is hard. I mean, it probably presumes some knowledge for you to make an educated guess on how many prisons there are and all the rest. But just, I'd be curious.
I'm going to say 2,000.
I think that's a good guess. I think between 2,000 and 3,000 is what I'd guess. 50,000 says New One Pro One. 11,474 says Grady. 14,500 says huge in Japan. 3,000 says commentator. 74,000 says John Witz. Oh, that's a lot. 25,000 says Gil. 5,500 says Chad. That's like a really good guess, Chad. The answer is last year. Well, I'll tell you what. 3 years ago, they seized 10,494 phones. That was 3 years ago. We're improving. Last year, authorities confiscated from prisoners and prisons around California 6,766 phones. Wow. I mean, so it's a robust phone place. Contraband. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, there's a movie called Contraband.
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 Mark Wahlberg is on the inside.
How many cell phones could he have?
He needs to get 6,000.
But I guess there's a whole business dropping drugs and cell phones and contraband into prisons. Because these guys that were arrested were dropping them at prisons in Monterey in the Salinas area.
Oh no, it's
they were dropping them at prisons all over the place.
There were
you step in to fill it.
No spots left out.
I just want to find 11,780.
Yeah, well, if you're close to 11,780 3 years ago. Now they're rolling back on it. Anyway, that's huge. They finally made a bust in that case. So that's why that's such a big deal in Law and Disorder. I had no idea that was as big a business as it apparently is.
Yeah.
Burglars reportedly tunneled into an Apple store to steal over 400 iPhones.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It's a Seattle suburb. They reported a brazen heist. Brazen is a ding word. Tunneling through the bathroom wall of a coffee appliance shop before sneaking into a neighboring Apple store and making off with about $500,000 worth of merchandise. They got 436 iPhones there. They're still investigating. They aren't giving a lot of details out because they're hot on the trail of the bad guys.
Can you
it's
imagine?
Pretty wild, though. The hole cut through layers of wall in a rectangle just big enough for an adult to crawl through. It's right between the toilet and sink in the store bathroom that adjoins. It's the coffee appliance store. Local cops told the outlet that no fingerprints were left behind. There's a shot of the hole if you are watching on YouTube.
Scoot right into the Apple store next door. Take your 435 iPhones, maybe a few laptops.
Yeah.
Back out you go. Nobody's the wiser.
That was the plan. There is plenty of after effect of the killing of Bob Lee in San Francisco. He was the founder of the Cash App, one of the founders, and now it was 2:30 in the morning, I think 2:35 literally, when he was knifed to death in the city. But there is a sense that the city is scary and crime-ridden, and one has that sense based on a lot of published reports and then high-profile murders of the sort that we have just heard about, right? The fatal stabbing of this tech executive, Bob Lee. So the data about San Francisco violent crime says that San Francisco does not have unusually high rates of homicide or other violent crimes when compared to cities of its same size. It's among the lowest, in fact, of major cities in the U.S. This really does fly in the face of anecdotal reports of how dangerous the city is, right? The question I have for you as we wrap up is it the clustering of crime and violent crime and the scariness of the city around areas that typically have to do with business and are frequented by those who aren't associated with, if you want to think of it as the underworld crime world of the city, that has us panicked? In other words, is our sense that San Francisco is a scary place, it's not informed by statistics, okay? It has to be then informed by a vibe you have. Your sense of how fearful you should be is informed by your sense of what's going on in a city. If you throw together enough smash and grabs, if you throw together enough, I'll call it homeless adjacent problems. I'm talking about defecation and urination publicly. And, in other words, just the kind of unsightly quality that this all takes on. And then you throw in a high-profile violent crime of the sort with the murder of Bob Lee. You have a picture in your mind and a sense of how dangerous San Francisco is. I'm just looking at statistics, though, and they don't bear out that sense. I mean, you can walk around the city and you can see the homelessness and you can see what I talk about, public defecation and urination and all this sort of thing, and the problem with drugs, open-air drug dens, and there are dents being made in all of that. When it comes to violent crime, the city stats are not bad. I mean, relative to other cities. So why do we have that sense of it? The answer, I would say, is in part related to where these crimes happen. I think they're happening increasingly in what you'd consider business districts, tourist areas.
Yeah.
And that creates the sense that San Francisco is a dangerous place. And by the way, that sense might be accurate, but I'm just saying statistically is what is being pointed to in the shadow of Bob Lee's murder. Statistically, San Francisco is not a violent place. It may be just the randomness of it. You feel like, well, if it can happen to this guy, it could happen to anybody. I mean, again, but I think it's a tricky
feels
question.
An awful lot like when you go to San Francisco and you park your car anywhere, the minute you walk away that you're taking a real chance that you're going to get a car break-in. I mean, it's just
right
the way it is.
No, I think the
might as well leave the door unlocked.
The car break-in part. Yeah, this is true. Statistics are meaningless if the crime happens to you, says Joe. Yeah. That's probably right. But John, here's the states with the most lax gun laws have like no permit concealed carry, have the highest rate of gun violence.
That's true.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, the states with the most lax gun laws, like they have the highest. Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah, that's certainly true. They have the most. Right. When you have more guns, there are going to be more gun-related issues. Could be accidents. Could be right. Yeah, that is true. And Karen is right about this too, which is, the implication here. It's a lot more likely to happen on an empty street at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, Bob Lee was on an empty street at 2:30 in the morning. But let me make this argument. The city should be safe enough that you can walk at 2:30 in the morning and not have to worry about being knifed to death. Now, the answer is maybe in America now and in the world, you just might have to worry about that in ways you didn't before. But it's definitely not an issue that's informed by statistics. It's informed by, as Kim would suggest, experience with smash and grabs, those kinds of crimes. And then you throw in a dash of violent crimes, high profile of the sort that we've seen with the murder of Bob Lee. And you have the feeling that we all have about San Francisco. That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How
Tony,
is
what
it
am I?
almost done? How is it almost noon already?
I know. I don't know how it happens, but it does. Dee Dee, thank you for the laugh at your expense at the beginning of today's show. Oh, yeah. Is it Lozica Concrete? How do you say it? Lozica Concrete? In the 510. Shout out to the 510. There it is. Lozica Concrete, Inc. Concrete contractors. Yeah. I like it.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to them. Serving the greater San Francisco Bay Area. Dee Dee, what a kind donation of $25. Big shout out again.
Big shout out.
It was a laugh at the beginning of the show because there was a parallel universe being played back. That was completely my fault. I had a window open.
It threw me off completely.
I didn't know where it was coming from. I had too many windows open, so.
Thanks, Tony.
Anyway, poor Tony.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, no, I'm looking at everything like, we didn't have a bad sound before. What's happening,
I know, all of a sudden we go on the air and we have that. It's pretty crazy. Well, welcome to the show on a Monday. But thank you, Dee Dee, and thank you, Lozica Concrete, Lozica. Yeah, for all your concrete needs. I'm loving it. Oh, I know. Nikki's got a show. Her show's smooth. Yeah, her show is all smooth. The Dalai Lama joke. Yeah, the poor Dalai Lama.
My bad. I'm sorry.
He's going to have to come up with something, I don't know. He'll have to come up with a decent apology.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. Also, Twitter and abortion pill, lottery tips, and Kim's Easter morning fail.
Yeah.
You heard a little bit about here. Yeah. So there's a lot going on Nikki's show. Tomorrow, David K. Johnston. We will talk about the latest court rulings, the future of reproductive rights in America, and some politics as well tomorrow. Smash the like button like a boss.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson
Smash
Show.
it with your iron rod.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kim, Tony, thank you, and thank you all who support the show. Till tomorrow. Bob.